Hi, again, it's Micah with ECAP, here to talk about, we've talked about how and when to apply, and now we're going to talk about where to apply. So here in the state of Texas, I live in the North Texas region, so a lot of what I'm going to be talking about will pertain to North Texas, but this applies throughout the state. The same principles apply throughout the state. So first, how many school districts? I'm a first-year prospective teacher. How many school districts do I need to apply with? And I would say a minimum of 5. If you want to have a good shot at landing a job, you want to have a minimum of 5 schools or school districts. I have had people that have come through the program and they say, I definitely just want to teach at this one district, and it's where my kids go, it's where I live, and I want to have the same schedule and all those kinds of things. And that's beautiful. That's a beautiful thought. You're not going to have the same schedule as your kids, first of all. If that's the reason you're coming into teaching, you might want to rethink this, because you're getting into a very, very busy career 9 months out of the year. So that's not a good reason, first of all, but you want to be in more than one district of possibility. When I applied first at 5 school districts. I had to expand that to 7. I like the number 7. It's a good biblical number. And I'm not superstitious, but I am just a little bit stitious, kind of like Michael Scott. So it was 7 for me. That's what did it. But I've noticed that people that apply up to 10 districts, and 10's where I'd cut it off. Because you're applying at more than 10 districts, then you're probably going to be getting multiple interviews and offers that are going to sort of compete with each other. And we do have people who get offered a job, and then they go tell those people, sorry, I want to take this job at this other place. And got to be honest with you, once you take a contract, ECAP expects you to honor that contract. So if you accept a job, you've just accepted the job for the year in our eyes. We really frown upon people entertaining multiple schools, keeping them on the hook and not making a decision about where they want to work pretty quickly. But minimum of 5, maximum of 10, 7 is the sweet spot, right in the middle. That's how many I'd apply with. Now, what is a school? And I know that sounds like an easy question, but sometimes it's not. Like, what qualifies as a school? Because here in Texas, we have ISDs, independent school districts, right? So that's definitely, any ISD is going to qualify as a school where you can do an internship and complete your certification requirements. But then we also have charter schools. So all charter schools, if they are chartered, with TEA, charter schools qualify as well. Your higher salaries are going to be with independent school districts, and then the salaries are going to go down just a little bit for charter schools. That is not true across the board, but that's typical. And then finally, you have private schools. Now, a lot of people love to work at private schools or Christian schools, and as long as that private or Christian school is accredited through TEA, then that also qualifies as a first-year teaching position where you can earn a standard certificate here in Texas. Once you get a standard certificate, you can move in between all of those types of schools. It's not like you have to stay where you start. But anyway, to check a private school's accreditation, go to the Texas Education Agency website, where they have a list of accredited private schools, and simply look at that list, make sure the one that you're wanting to apply with is on that list, and you should be good to go. So that's what type of school. Now let's talk about like how far away, or what geographically speaking represents a good where to apply for me. My wife, who's lovely person behind this camera right here, had a job where she was driving about an hour and a half every day to school. And I think that's a bit much. It turned out to be a lot for her, because teaching is a busy job. You're already working, 10 or 11-hour days in many cases. If you have any extra duties, like if you're a coach, or she did yearbook, and she had to stay after and take pictures with the yearbook kids of football games, basketball games, and those kinds of things. But by the time she was done with work, she was beat, and then she had to drive an hour and a half home. You need to think about that. So geographically speaking, I think if I was to do this all over again, I'd say 45 minutes is my maximum limit to drive to a school. Some of this depends on whether it's rural or an urban school, whether it's in the city, suburbs, or out in the country. So, that's something to take into account. But I guess my message to you on the geography is be careful what you're committing to, because what you should expect is the job itself is going to take most of your time in the first year. As you move on to year 2 and 3 and 4, you can learn to manage your schedule, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel every day. You're not rewriting the script per se every single day. But that first year is going to be tough. So try to keep a job that's reasonably close to your home. So the geography, there's another thing to think about. When you get out into the more rural areas, the salaries tend to go down, okay? And they'll look up school salary, they'll be looking for a job, and they'll base it on, like, how much will I make if I work at this school versus this one. I also want you to keep in mind, like, if you're willing to move and you go work at a rural school, then your salary is going to be less, yes, but also your cost of living is going to be dramatically decreased as you live in a rural area here in the state of Texas. So honestly, if I was doing it all again, as I say, I'd probably look for some more rural districts to work for, find a nice small town to move into. It is simply a more relaxed way to get into this industry. So I like to sort of toot the horn of the rural school, because it's a little bit better environment, in my opinion, for a teacher on a day-to-day basis, and the sacrifice is pretty minimal as far as salary is concerned. So I want to give you guys some resources. That's pretty much it for the instruction part of the video, but I want to give you all some resources so you can that'll help drive your decision. First, and I mentioned this in a previous video, but find a consortium application if it exists in your area. What that is a lot of areas will have an application that combines lots of different school districts, and you basically can fill out one app and check off the boxes for the schools that you want to send it to. In the North Texas region, Region 11, ours is on a system called Accreditation, which is hosted by the Education Service Center, Region 11. We'll put a link to that below, but that link will change in September of 23. Just be aware of that. They're going to move that application. Now, next, go to the TEA website and pull up the state map on the TEA website. Just search for the state map, and it's going to be divided into regions. Texas has several what they call regions. I'm in Region 11. Houston, I believe, is Region 4. Your region will have a number, and inside those maps in those regions, you can click on a region, and it'll pull up the name of every school district in that region. So if you're not sure what schools are around, say you're out of state or just out of the area, then go look at that map, and you'll get the names of all the school districts around you. Take a look at that map, and then take a look at a map that has sort of your window of opportunity, the circle that you're willing to drive to, and you can figure out exactly what school districts lie within that window. And finally, if you're looking at salaries and you need to know how much would I make here as opposed to there, the UEA website, United Educators Association website, has a really cool year after year after year. They pull all the schools in Texas. They pull their salary, or the independent school districts. They pull their salaries and they list them there. So you can figure out, if I do go rural, if I work at this small town as opposed to that one, how much would I be making? And you can look at that and have an educated view of it. So UEA, go to their website. We'll try to link that below as well. And UEA is a union. And Texas is not a mandatory union state, so it's a little different than the unions up north. A union here is a good thing in that they, if you join at a pretty minimal fee, they will, if you get in trouble for some reason, legal trouble during the school year, they'll hire lawyers to help defend you. You need to be the member in a union. And it really is more like joining sort of a club or a consortium of teachers. And in that same vein, the unions that I recommend are first UEA, because they are a Texas-based union and they're very strong in our state. And I like, my wife and I, we are Christian educators. So we joined, it was CEAI, the Christian Educators Association International, I believe. When we joined it, they've changed names now. They're just called Christian Educators. But they're a union specifically for Christian educators. If you get in trouble, if you have religious beliefs that someone is trying to infringe upon, and you don't allow that to happen, and you might get in trouble for that, the Christian educators also have the same situation. They will send lawyers to defend you and help defend your religious rights as a teacher. And so there's the where to apply. It's how many school districts should I apply at? What type of school is out there for me to use? How far away should I be looking? And then you've got some resources, hopefully, in the description of this video that will help you as you conduct your job search. Hope you do well.